Okay, so for skill 8.2, we're using the distance and midpoint formulas. Now, the distance formula, if you want to use it, is d is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So you can use that and just plug in. I personally like to do another way. So from 0 to -2, I go a distance of 2. So I'm still doing d is equal to the square root. But in that case, I went 2. So I would do 2 squared, right? Because that's 2. Let me switch up colors. And then from 5 to 7, I also have a distance of 2. That's along my y-axis. And so that's going to be plus 2 squared. So I have d is equal to 2 squared plus 2 squared. So that's just going to be d is equal to the square root of 4 plus 4. d is equal to the square root of 8, which is equal to the square root of 4 times 2. And so my final answer is the square root of 4 is just 2 root 2, because I want it in simplified radical form. All right. And so for number 9, same method, -8 to -4. If I go between them, like my x's, that's a distance of 4. From 1 to 4, that's a distance of 3. And so when I set it up, I would say d equals the square root of 4 squared plus 3 squared. And I get d is equal to the square root of 16 plus 9. D is equal to the square root of 25. D is equal to 5. Write that neat, like this. And these are my 2 answers. Now the midpoint formula I can write once again as x1 plus x2 over 2, and that's my x-coordinate, and y1 plus y2 over 2, and that's my y-coordinate. Now here we're really just kind of taking the averages, right? So this is 7 minus 2 over 2, comma, -9 plus 1 over 2. And so that's just going to be 5 over 2. And so you could write it as 5 halves, comma, and that's -8 divided by 2. So that's a -4. And that's my final answer. You can leave it like this. You could also have written it as 2.5 or 2 1/2. Any of those are correct. And then here, for number 11, we'll do -5 plus -5 divided by 2, and 5 minus 10 divided by 2, right? So because -5 and -5 are my 2 x's, all right? And so that's just going to be -10 divided by 2 is -5, so we end up with -5. Notice that that is not 0. And then this is going to be -5 over 2. And honestly, you could leave it like this or rewrite it as -2.5 or -2.5. All right. So the easiest way to do this, and we kind of talked about before, so my endpoint is, and I'm just going to call it E, is 0, -1. My midpoint M is -3, -4. Now to go from 0 to -3, I am subtracting 3. So I need to subtract 3 again, and I get -6. And then for the y's, -1 to -4, I'm also subtracting 3. So -4 minus 3 is -7. And so my answer is -6, -7. Now let's do 13, same thing. I have the point, and we'll do it vertically this time. I have my endpoint is -6, -5, and my midpoint is 4, -9. Now from -6 to 4, I add 10. So I'm going to add another 10 and get 14 as my x. And then from -5 to -9, I subtract 4. So I need to subtract 4 more from 9, and I get -13. And this is my answer right here.